This is Saturday, and the main event of the World Series is still going on. And I can tell you, I'm jealous of the people who are still left in. I check Poker News to look at the updates to see who I want to root for. I don't have a piece of anyone. For a while, I had a lot of people to root against because I had some cross books, but they're all out. But it's funny, when I look at who to root for, I notice more people I'm rooting against, and that might not sound like a nice thing, but I look for people who represent poker well. I'm rooting for Victor Ramden, who was up there and is a nice guy, and I know would help people with some of the money. And Tuan Lee told me that I definitely have to root for Chino, because not only do a lot of people have pieces of him, so the money will stay in the poker community, but Tuan said Chino's a guy he can borrow from. And Chino's also a guy who may play in the games, and we can beat him out of some of the money. So a lot of times you look at it as far as keeping the money in the poker community. And I was rooting for Ben Roberts because he's a real nice guy. Who would represent poker well, but he's just got knocked out. And definitely Nam's brother and Tuan's actual best friend, probably even closer to Tuan than Nam, is Tommy Lee. I think they have him listed as Nyan Lee. Tommy's been amazing. He made it deep, maybe in the 30s last year at the main event. He doesn't play that many events. He was down there, I think, in the WPT Championship. He's really been amazing in these big events. So, and there are a lot of people, not a lot, but let's say a handful of people that I look at their names, because I know who they are, and I say, oh, God, I hope this guy doesn't make the final table because, I just don't think it'd be good for poker. So I'm still having the hangover effect of the tournament. I wasn't really that tired, certainly not tired physically from the tournament because, poker doesn't tire me out. There's some emotional drain. But what I always think in this case, especially because I'm sure you guys know that I've had a decent World Series, I always think, what about the other people who didn't do so well? And especially in the no-limit hold'em events, there were, I don't know how many, I didn't count, let's say 20, 25 no-limit hold'em events, and we have a lot of good, especially the young players, a lot of good young no-limit hold'em players. Let's say, a couple hundred that have done well on the internet or done well in live games. But let's say in 20 events or 25 events, maybe there are 200 spots at those final tables. And if you have a few hundred good players, I think it's called the pigeonhole principle in math, there's not enough places for people. So that's why we've had some good players blank out, never make it to a final table in the World Series. And this year in the no-limit hold'em events, and people are wondering how could that happen. Even myself, I can't imagine going 20 events, and some of them didn't cash or just cashed one or two times, but have no final tables for sure. But of course, it's hard in those fields of 2,700. As a matter of fact, I kind of feel, not counting the main event, the person who had the best World Series was probably J.C. Tran. He played in those no-limit hold'em events with those big fields. I would guess he passed, or he stayed in as more people got knocked out than anyone else. Eric Lindgren was Player of the Year, but Eric, like myself, played in some of these shorter field events and made final tables in the two shortest field events, which you can make the case those are stronger fields. But for JC, he made the money like 6 or 7 times, was down there deep a few different times, and won one. That's I think a pretty amazing feat. And you'd have to say, based on this World Series, I never say someone's the best at something, but he statistically, as of today, we'd say is the best no-limit hold'em tournament player just based on results anyway. Not that really means anything with variance and everything else. But anyway, as I was saying, one of the things, because even during this World Series where I did well, still my girlfriend and I had some arguments over me getting knocked out and results, and I felt bad at times. And then you see some of these people almost blanked out and lost a lot of money in entries, and I just wonder. I always would wonder when, especially the younger kids, say they're tired out from the World Series. But I think what it's got to be, more than the physical tiredness, is the emotional drain it has to take to get continually beat down. Because, especially as a matter of fact, I talked to Danny Alai, And I know Danny's a good player, and he told me what he had happen to him. He'd get a hold of chips, and as he'd get towards the money, he'd always get this crucial race, crucial hand, and would lose it. And that can just happen over 15 to 20 events. And even one thing, I noticed for myself, I didn't play many of the no limit hold'ems, but one of them I was near the chip lead. And when I got to around 100 people left, I looked at the payout structure, and it was something like 5,000 I was going to get at this point. And if I lasted 60 more places, I was going to get 6,000 or 7,000. And I said, what am I doing sitting here? I've got to go through another 60 people just to get a couple more thousand. It's ridiculous. And I made a bad decision. It was the only guy at the table I didn't have a good feel for. He opened late position. I had queen 10 of hearts, and I pretty much shipped it on him, and he had 2 queens. And that's another thing that can happen. It's really just lack of patience, lack of focus, clearly not trying my best. And I'm sure other people, if it happened to me, I'm sure it happened to a lot of people where they saw the payout structure in the middle in these big fields and just decide to just take a shot to get a hold of chips or get knocked out instead of keeping their focus and picking their spots. So the World Series is a real draining thing, and now I'm on to the Bellagio 15,000. I'm hoping to do well. I actually already played my first day and tripled up in chips, which puts me in 7th place for the first day. There are 3-day ones. And, good finish there, a final table there will at least wipe out some of the lingering hands that are going through my head from the main event. And then I'm looking forward to go home because my kids have gone back home. I haven't seen them for a while, and I just feel better when I'm home with them. Not actually, only one of my kids has stayed out with me, and she's on the other side of the camera. And I don't know what the heck she's been doing, but she did come home last night. But I think I need to get her back home too. Okay, bye-bye.